Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? Welcome back to For Strategy Gaming. Going to be casting a game for you today between Baz and Socke or Sock or something like that. I was informed in prior videos that I pronounced his name wrong, but Socke just rolls off the tongue for me, so that's actually how I'm just gonna do it. If you don't like it, you can always just not watch my video. That's fine with me. So yeah, today's matchup is gonna be between Baz and Socke. This is a Terran vs Protoss here on Shakur's Plateau. Definitely gonna be interested to see how this match plays up. This did come from the TL Open, so definitely obviously good players. A solid play from both players is to be expected. Socke gonna be starting off with that 9 pylon, obviously very standard there, and Baz gonna be opening up with this 10 depot. So what's on the plate for me today? Well, I'm going to be casting a couple of games for you today, but then aside from that, I am actually quite busy with non-StarCraft related things for the day. I guess I could tell you about it at a future time, maybe in another video or something like that. But yeah, I just got some stuff going on. Definitely looking forward to that. Yesterday, I did come out with a new episode of Purgatory. If you don't know, Purgatory is an episode series that I have going on my Diablo 3 channel. Basically, just keeping people up to date on everything that's going on with Diablo 3. So take a look at that if you have any interest in the game. If not, then you can just keep watching StarCraft 2 videos. Both players, again, opening up with the very standard here. We are seeing a, what's that, 13 gate there from Mr. Socke, and over here for Baz, that 12 barrack as well. Now, looks like they're going to be passing each other and actually grabbing that Zelnaga there. Baz did see that probe moving before Socke had any idea. In fact, I'm surprised that he didn't just hang out there. A lot of times you like to do a little trickery just to leave your opponent unaware for just that much longer, but apparently not too concerned because obviously Socke was headed in that direction, so he would have checked it anytime anyway, so it's not like he would have gained any sort of advantage by doing that trickery. But it's, I don't know, it's nice to psych out your players or opponents just for a moment. And anyways, Socke gonna be just doing the basic again, so really not a whole lot to talk about. Given these positions, you know, obviously these rocks are going to come into play at some point during the game, cutting down that rush distance between the two bases by a tremendous amount, and in doing so, obviously allowing for really heavy aggression early on from either player, and not even so much just early on. Later in the game, if they don't come into play early to mid-game, then they definitely will later in the game. Moving that Marine down, trying to shoo away that probe, and doing a good job of it. Probe is forced to run away right now. Not a whole lot that he can do at this point. Cybernetics Core working its way on in. We can see right now Socke doesn't have that second gas yet, so not going to be going incredibly gas heavy. That is obviously a bit of a telling sign. You know, typically Protoss builds very, very gas intensive, and a lot of times you will see that second gas before this point. You can see right now is at about 22 supply. So Zell coming down, taking one shot there of the SCV, but SCV sneaking on through and is going to be able to make it home pretty much without any issue at all. Socke moving up his probe, and interested to see why he's moving in this direction. It looks like Proxy Pylon is the name of the game here, so is planning on being aggressive sometime relatively soon. We can see go ahead and chrono boosting out that warp gate research. That second gateway is in. Still hasn't decided yet if he's going to be going for more gateways or that robo. Wouldn't be all that surprised though if it's just more gateways. If we see a 4-gate, especially with the placement there of that proxy pylon, definitely lends itself to some early aggression. And taking a look over here for Baz, we are seeing a pretty interesting opening up with that reactor there on the barrack to get out that double marine, and then going up to that factory. So not seeing a barrack heavy build, but rather looks like he is intending on teching up. Yeah, we'll see what he intends on going. Where are these extra buildings here from Mr. Socke? Is he going to be getting anything, or is he just going to be rolling out with this 2-gate? Where are his other buildings? He needs to be getting something at some point. Looks like he's just going to be happy with the 2-gate right now. In fact, chrono boosting out Stalker and getting that Stalker out now as well. And this warp gate research just about finished, so he's going to chrono boost that out, changes to warp gates, and going to be pushing out with an early 2-gate. That is what he's doing. Look at these units. He's already ready to push out. We do have this bunker up for Baz, though, so Baz is going to have a pretty decent time of handling this, and he is also coming out of the tank, and that's actually going to help quite a bit, especially target firing those stalkers. That tank will do a lot of damage. The DPS unsieged is pretty high for that unit. So you can see exactly what Socke is planning on doing. It looks like he is getting that expansion right now, so just going for that 2-gate early pressure, allowing him to get that expansion down and try to work up on that economy here. So trying to push up right now. Guardian Shield going down to try to help deal with that bunker damage. Going to be target firing down that Stalker. See how quickly that drops. Bunker is about to go down, but SCV is coming up to repair. Going to enhance its survival just by a little bit and trying to target fire those SCVs, but no, not enough there. That SCV repair is pretty much what saved Baz from that push. Now taking a look over here inside of Socke space, we can see the SCV is scouting around. Did he actually see that expansion drop? Yes, he did. So Socke is fully aware of the fact that that expansion dropped, and as a result, taking a look over here, you can see Baz was fully aware, and as a result, you can see, of course, that he is actually going to be getting up an expansion himself in order to make sure sure he can stay on par, and just now coming out with that starport, so a little bit delayed there on that starport, but obviously he needed to do so just to defend himself, and luckily he was able to defend himself. That excellent repair there on that bunker, and he was set and good to go. So Socke's not going to really have much of an advantage. He's going to get that expansion up slightly faster, but it looks like, you know, Boz responded pretty quickly with dropping that expansion himself. So both players going to be looking to get that relatively early expand and work on their economies and then kind of go from there. Can see Boz is coming out with that siege tech right now. Looks like he's going to be relying on that marine tank heavy build. Also going to be getting a tech lab over here, so might be looking to see a Raven. That is quite possible, unless he wants to open up with some Banshee play and do some harassment there. But looking at that pooled Vespian, I think a Raven is likely. And look at that, Raven is coming out right now. Obviously the point defense drone there, very, very effective. If DT ever come into play, having that Raven will help quite a bit as well. And look at this, Socke already going to start working on these rocks. He wants to give himself the opportunity to push through here at some point in the future, at least give himself that chance if he deems it necessary. So just going to be pumping out these tanks and these marines, going to be moving his front wall here. You can see getting rid of that bunker that was up there, moving it to this new position, and yeah, just going to be shifting his frontal wall, going to be defending this area instead of just here. This is something I suggest players do. I feel like a lot of times players will expand, and obviously I'm not talking about professional players, just your average player. A lot of times they'll expand, but they'll just keep fortifying that front wall of their main base instead of moving that front wall. And this is kind of the best scenario. Obviously you always want to defend any expansions that you drop down. Observer going to be coming through, and it looks like actually Socke did stop working on those rocks. I decided he didn't want to bust through those quite yet, and we have a nice little supply depot back here for Boz that's going to be making him aware of anything that does try to come through there. And look at this empty tech lab. So actually once that Raven came out, switching it up to a reactor, going to allow him to get that double medevac, and then getting this barrack right here. He's going to probably be dropping that down right on that tech lab, getting him some marauders there as well. So Boz giving a nice little mix here of units again with that. Ooh, look at that, checking that observer, bringing on over that Raven, bring it on over. I sound like a hillbilly there. That's pretty funny. Bring it on over that Raven and allowing him to snipe it down with those marines. Just going to be continuously pumping out. So not a lot of harassment from either player. We can see Socke has maintained control here of these Zelnaga caverns with these two stalkers. So he's going to be fully aware of any pushes coming out, but it doesn't look like Boz is going to be pushing anytime soon. Again, just kind of macroing up, pumping out a couple medevacs right now. Got another barrack coming as well, and a reactor going down. Where is that reactor going down? Reactor is going down, in fact, on that barrack, and here's another barrack, and that one's going to be attached to the tech lab there, so not actually doing that hot swap with that initial barracks like I thought he would. Over here, another observer moving out. This time not going to be endangering himself by going into Boz's base. In fact, just going to be spotting this rock here to check if a push does come through eventually. And taking a look at Socke, I feel like we haven't been in his base in quite some time. What has he got going on? Well, he does have these 4 gateways up, and look at this, going to be coming out with this Colossus, upgrading that thermal lance right now. Also coming out with that first Colossus. Nice little mix of units here. A couple zealots, sentries, stalkers, big scan going down, and that's actually going to spot that robotics base. So probably going to be seeing us switch to Vikings as a result instead of getting that medevac. And look at that, as soon as I say it, Viking is working its way on out. And that is of course the right decision. He definitely wants to be able to do that. And uh-oh, push coming out right now for Boz. Boz seeing what he saw with that scan, looks like he is thinking that now would be a good time to attack, especially since there aren't that many Colossus on the board. So going to be trying to push up, but the first Colossus is out, and Socke is obviously prepared for this. He is fully aware of that this is happening because he did have that observer placement. So look at this, seeing that push right now, going to want to pull away with that observer, try to get away from the detection there of that Raven. Big engagement coming down right now. Tanks are on siege. Going to be just using their regular DPS to try to do damage. Force fields going down. Tanks want to pull back and try to siege up if at all possible. Getting caught out of position like that was definitely not the best thing here. That Colossus going to be sniping down some of those Marines, doing so much damage. Tanks sieging up on the high ground, and that is going to force the pushback of this army of Socke right now. And look at that Viking trying to take a few pop shots there of that Colossus, but forced back from the threat of that Stalker fire. So unfortunately, Boz did take a few losses without doing much damage at all. Again, Socke was fully aware and fully prepared for that because he had that observer placement and he saw those rocks going down. Proxy pylons still probably going to come into play at some point. Boz is going to be coming down with the expansion here, but he still hasn't seen that. So I think that the second that Socke is aware that expansion is going to be trying to get dropped, he's going to be warping in a couple units and just try to deter that as much as possible. And taking a look over here, Socke is coming out with an additional expansion himself. So Boz is definitely going to want to expand sometime in the near future, or else he's going to start to fall behind. Vikings pulling forward and again trying to snipe down this Colossus. Looks like they were safe, though. Again, defended from those units. Did they actually get any of them? No, he didn't. I think, yeah. So he didn't end up killing any, unfortunately. Didn't really work quite to his favor, but still trying to continue this push right now. Moving that siege line just a little bit, trying to tempt Socke to go ahead and attack, but it looks like Socke is fully aware of that tank position, so doesn't really want to walk into that. Not quite yet. Feels like he doesn't have enough forces. And again, here's that expansion coming down, and does Socke actually see this with the pylon? No, he doesn't quite yet, so if he did, man, a warp in right there would actually be absolutely devastating. Pushing forward, you gotta take this free kill of the Immortal. Sieging up right now. Is it gonna be too late, though? Marines pushing forward, and they're gonna get absolutely shredded by those Colossus, taking lots of damage, but microing back right now, and those tanks being completely devastating. Actually force fielding himself away from the tank, so unfortunately for Socke, wasn't the best force field placement, and actually ended up working to his disadvantage. He wasn't able to get right up on those tanks because of those force fields. Obviously, his idea in the force fields were to split those Marines and try to snipe them down, but an excellent response time by Boz was able to pull those back. And my gosh, that's I'm sure he's kicking himself right now for that. Socke wasn't able to get up on those tanks, and as a result just took a ton of damage there. Vikings going to be lifting back up in case a Colossus comes out. As we can see, a Colossus is working the way on out right now. Marines continuing to rain hell and do lots of damage there. That medevac back there healing them up and making them quite effective. Zealot's going to be moving forward, unfortunately without charge. Some good Marine micro is going to keep him away from that. Those tanks, again, shelling absolute hell on these units, and Boz's push here is being quite effective. He does have a few more units re-rallied, and look at this, we do have a Dark Shrine coming in, so that's probably going to come into play sometime soon. That Raven is gone, so wouldn't be surprised if we see a warp in of some DT at some point. Colossus working its way on out. Stalkers trying to do what they can for damage, but again, taking so much damage from the tanks. Vikings pushing forward. Socke's looking to be in quite a bit of trouble right now. I'm not sure what he can do to do this. This push is very strong. He lost all of those Marines right there, so Boz needs to reinforce, pushing down with some of these probes to try to engage and try to help this, but these tanks in the low ground going to be shelling the hell out of them and doing so much damage. Vikings finally landing now that the Colossus is gone and going to be continuing to do damage, helping out those Marines. And again, it looks like Socke is just in a little bit too much trouble. DT are being warped in, but where are they? There we go. So some DT going to be warped in right here, trying to do some damage. Also DT moving over to this expansion, but that missile turret plus those Marines in the bunker going to take care of that. Scan going down. DT forced to push back right now, losing those production buildings. Socke, that is not a good thing, not a good scenario for him. And oh my gosh, there is that one DT right there, going to start doing tons of damage. We need another scan here from Boz, or else he's going to take lots of losses. Now he does still have these tanks back here shelling out, doing lots of damage. Scan going down, going to kill that DT, forced to push back at this moment. Needs to stay away from that Colossus, moving back to the safety of the tank fire. Did manage to snipe down that DT that was engaging. Again, he was just within the range of that scan, even though it was way over here. The scan detection range is quite far. And look at this, coming down with a missile turret inside of his base. He is fed up with dealing with those DTs, so going to be dropping the missile turret as a response. Charge coming in, and that's going to make those Zealots quite more effective against those Marines. But the amount of damage that Boz has done so far is just absolutely devastating. Socke not giving up, though, continuing to try to engage, continuing to try to do what he can for damage. We can see some Vikings finally working its way out here for Boz, and that is precisely what he needs, because his Marines are just absolutely disappearing. And there we go, Viking moving forward. That's going to help him deal with this Colossus. Are we seeing any rebuilding of Socke here? He wants to come down. No, he actually can't even afford it, so putting all of his effort here into defending against us, but it doesn't look like he has enough. These Marines plus these tanks doing so much damage. A scan going down, dropping that DT. I'm not sure why that turret wasn't enough to detect it, but maybe it wasn't up yet. And charge Zealot's going down, going to be chasing down these Marines, but some great micro there by Boz, managing to stay away. Colossus going to be trying to stop the production of this bunker, and he's going to do so. Boz definitely wants to cancel that if he's got the wherewithal right now. I know there's a hell of a lot going on, though, so I wouldn't be too surprised. Is he going to repair it or cancel it, or is he just going to lose it after building it? That would be quite unfortunate. Please repair it. There we go. So nice repair going down. And there we go. Cyberdex core dropping down. And that is a big loss right now. All Socke can warp in is Zealots and probably just try to get out some more Colossus. And again, he can't afford to be dropping any more buildings. He's putting all of his effort in trying to defend this. Zealots charging forward. Going to be taking out that tank very quickly. Trying to aim for another tank as well. A Colossus pushing himself forward. Again, they need to take out that tank. But look at that Marine line pushing forward and dropping that Colossus very quickly. The Colossus was low on health. Those Marines were able to get up there and do lots of damage while the Colossus was trying to focus fire those siege tanks. But Socke not giving up, never surrender, he says, continuing to engage here. Coming out with Immortal, probably not the best decision against all these Marines. He would definitely obviously try to look to get through those tanks, but quite far away, so not really an option for him. And there is the GG. Socke does leave. So nice game between these two players. Boz with that really strong heavy push, and all the while you can see he did in fact get up an expansion himself, so was able to maintain that strong economy, and that allowed him to continue to reinforce that. And just an excellent push there by Boz. Boz. Pretty much just Marine Tank Viking. That's essentially what we saw from him during this push. There were a few other things mixed in there. We did see that Raven, but that got dropped very quickly. But you see just how effective that was, and then also getting those medevacs out, obviously bolstering the effectiveness of these Marines. And the problem, of course, for Socke was that he obviously would have liked to rebuild some of his base, right? He would have liked to get some more gateways up, liked to get another Cybernetics core. He just couldn't afford it, though. In order to help deter this push from Boz, he was forced to spend all of his resources in trying to defend against it, and he was just so low that he really couldn't do much of anything else. You can see at the end of the game when he left, only 165 minerals. He did have 695 SPN, but still, only 165 minerals doesn't really allow for rebuilding. And yeah, so just great push by Boz. We're going to be moving on to the next game in just one moment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. If you do, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel and keep watching and keep owning.